Okay guys, with the failing light that I have left, I figured I'd show you the way this thing is rigged, and you can take from it what you want. Hope it works out for you. Basically, the shell itself is another hammock essentially, with a flap to cover over top of the first one. On the inside, I took and instead of sewing the sleeping bag into the tarp itself, I sewed a tag onto it so that I can attach it to the inner point of the shell, and this way I can go ahead and use multiple different kinds of inner type of insulation. As you can see, this is an old crappy sleeping bag. So as you can see, the sleeping bag itself is set up on the outside, but if you imagine that on the inside, this is essentially how it's rigged. As you can see, this is how it would be rigged on the outside of the sleeping bag. One thing I don't think I did show you was that I have 3 attachment points that I sewed Velcro, one in the middle and one on each end. This allows for the sleeping bag to completely envelop the inner hammock, and it allows a lot of very good insulation. Now, the flap that I was talking about before is this here, and this is what comes up and gets flipped over the top. It's completely independent, and as I showed you before, this open end here is just zipped closed with a couple of slip tie fasteners. So once again guys, I hope this has been helpful. If you can use the ideas, feel free. Otherwise, have yourself a nice day. Well guys, I apologize for the amount of time it took to get the second part of the video up, but as I was editing the first one, there's a couple things that came to mind. First of all, was that I had a duh moment, and that duh moment was that while I was shooting the video, I didn't realize that the humidity and the condensation was all coming from my own breath. I was concentrating so much on how well it was retaining the heat, basically, and the lack of heat, complete lack of heat transfer from the outside to my back and to my core. I was very happy with the way that worked. But the other part about the condensation, I think, is going to be rather solvable, and I'll show you that in later videos. The other thing that I realized as I was editing the first one was that I didn't thoroughly cover the insulation on the inside of the hammock, and that's what I'm going to do now. Basically, the insulation was what I was wearing. Okay, you know from the video that I had a hat that I never actually did wear, but the rest of the insulation came from a heavyweight polypro long sleeve top and my long hunter wool shirt. I was wearing cotton underwear, a pair of jeans, and a pair of wool socks. So physically covering me inside the hammock, there was nothing else. I consider the proof of concept to be pretty much absolute. There's a couple bugs that need to be worked out. But the other thing I wanted to cover with you that I don't think I really mentioned on the video was the amount of versatility in the system that I didn't demonstrate. Now, you saw basically how you can attach the sleeping bag. I do have a 80-20 wool synthetic blanket that is rigged basically the same way. It can't zip up, of course, but I went to the wool primarily for dual use because of the coat videos that Dave has shot and everyone else has shot. It's completely versatile, and I completely agree with it. My next mod will probably be with one of the 100% wool Italian blankets and the paracord instead of the Velcro. So I wanted to touch on that with you also. But the other thing that I didn't touch on quite as much is the inner space inside the shell of the hammock, between the shell and the hammock, not only for the blanket or the sleeping bag. I mean, you can put natural materials, leaves in there, and in addition to that, you can put your emergency space blanket in there. Now, the really thin mylar ones probably won't work as well, but the ones that we're using that you can dual use as a tarp, you can put on the inside, put the aluminum side or the shiny side towards your body, and that will help retain heat. That's something that I will be working on in later videos, and probably doing test differentials for the temperature. But I just wanted to make sure that I touched on those couple things. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you out there in the woods. Have a good one.